Thank you, AP Band. At this time, if everyone would please stand for the singing of our national anthem by the AP Choir under the direction of Mr. Jeff Bieber. Today we're happy to welcome our students, our staff members, community members, but a special welcome to our veterans and their spouses. At this time, I would like to recognize one veteran, Virgil Lindeman. We actually have a World War II veteran with us. So Virgil, if you're here, if you would just give us a wave or a stand up. If we give him a round of applause. We appreciate you coming out. We know the weather's not great, but for you to be here, for our young people to see a World War II veteran, even our staff, we just appreciate very much your efforts to be here with us today. You know, arguably today is the most important holiday for each and every one of us, because without veterans and without Veterans Day, whatever holiday we choose that matters most to us would not exist without the freedoms that we can have due to the sacrifice of the men and women who have served our country. Every year, it's truly an honor for AP to host our community and our veterans. As I prepare a welcome every year, there are no words that can properly say thank you for what you've done for each and every one of our young people, for our community members, and for our country. It occurred to me today as I was reflecting and trying to come up with what it was I was going to say that unfortunately students, our young people in this auditorium, have never known a unified America. It's mind-blowing to me that our current seniors, very few of them were born on September 11th, 2001. For many, that was their birth year. For me, as I reflect growing up, in the 80s, we were unified. As President Reagan, it was us versus Russia. It was President Reagan saying, tear down this wall. And we were all proud to be on the same team from the same country. Unfortunately, with our political landscape, these young people either know red or blue, Republican or Democrat. We don't know red, white, and blue. That yes, we can have the right to vote, to have freedom of thought, to have freedom of speech, due to the sacrifice, due to the commitment to our country from our veterans. I will say one area I do think our country has improved upon, as I thought back to my father-in-law, Jerry Junker, who's passed away, but who was a veteran, and when I think and reflect to many of you who came home from Vietnam. And unfortunately, the reception that you received was not worthy of your service. Today, whether Republican, Democrat, split, divided how we are, one thing we do get right is honoring our veterans. I think of the honor flights and the things that our soldiers have been able to go be honored and to recognize and to see that you are lifted up. And it breaks my heart to think about even some in this auditorium not being thanked for their service upon returning home. Here at AP, young people, we often try to talk about being a part of something bigger than yourself. Be involved in an activity, a sport, whatever that might be. Because the way you improve is you're around other people for a cause bigger than yourself. And when you look at our veterans, there's no greater example than our armed service and our military of putting yourself a part of something else, willing to make an ultimate sacrifice for your country. As I Google, I'm a quotes and slogan guys, and so I went through and I did different searches and found different quotes, and I'm just going to share some of the ones that hit me as I searched the internet today. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. John Kennedy. A hero is someone who has always given his or her life to something bigger than themselves. Courage is contagious. When a brave man takes a stand, the spine of others often stiffen. That was said by Billy Graham. Courage. Bravery doesn't mean you aren't scared. It means you go anyway. As I reflect and think about, I can't imagine young people imagine being 17, 18 years old, enlisting, going to boot camp, and being sent off to war. I'll tell you, before I tried to put myself in those shoes, but now I'm getting older, it's a different deal with a junior in high school. For me to have a son many of your ages, to think about you young people leaving here at graduation, seniors, going for a boot camp, being sent to a faraway land. That's what some of those folks sitting right in our auditorium did for us today. Some of them went willing, not all. But they did go and they were willing to serve and fight for our freedoms. Young people, I hope you never take for granted what it means to have the right to vote, to have the right for freedoms. And I hope if your country ever calls upon you, you will serve with the courage and honor that many of our local heroes did themselves. The last quote that I want to say is, this nation will only remain the land of the free as long as it's home of the brave. We're honored to have our veterans here with us today. I'm going to ask at this time if any of our seniors will be going to the service next year, if you would just stand real quick to be recognized. Thank you, Connor. At this time, it's my honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Sergeant First Class Adam Holm. He began his military career right out of high school. He graduated from Osage High School in 1993, and he joined the Marine Corps. In late 1994, he was deployed on the USS Essex. He got to travel to Hawaii, Hong Kong, Singapore, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. He was then sent to the coast of Somalia to assist the 10th Mountain Division of the Army as they pulled out of Somalia. This is where Black Hawk Down occurred. To end that deployment, he then stopped in Australia. He left the Marine Corps in 1998 and shortly thereafter joined the Iowa Army National Guard. He was deployed with them to Saudi Arabia for 8 months from August 2000 to April 2001. He was then deployed to Afghanistan for a year from June 2004 to June 2005. He has been with the National Guard for the last 21 years. Along the overseas deployment, he has also helped with flood disaster relief when the National Guard has been asked to assist. I can assure you, First Class Sergeant Holm is extremely nervous today, as he told me he didn't sleep a whole lot, but we're honored to have him be one of our local heroes and to share his thoughts on Veterans Day with us. Please help me welcome First Class Sergeant Adam Holm.
All right, so a little nervous, and apparently what I sent you guys is pretty much my whole speech today. So we'll go over how it all started. So I was a decent athlete in high school, not the best student. Had a Marine recruiter show up, talk to him, and he's like, yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. I want to join the Marine Corps. Went home, talked to my mom. First thing she does is, why is that something you want to do? Ran off, started crying. My dad's like, being a Vietnam vet, goes, good for you. The Marines, kind of crazy though. After high school, like Mr. Thomas said, jumped on a plane, flew to San Diego, California for boot camp. Spent 12 weeks there. The first 4 weeks is them telling you this is the Marine Corps, this is what it's about, getting you in the right mindset. One thing I'll never forget, after I got off that plane, for any other Marine out here, those yellow footsteps. You stand on them, you'll never forget them. The next 4 weeks is field training. You go up to Camp Pendleton, which is like an hour north of San Diego. You get there, and it's right along one of the major highways. And I had an instructor go, if you guys plan to leave, please leave your stuff. The highway's right there. Just don't take anything, because I don't want to have to hunt you down. We had rifle training the first 2 weeks. I had never shot a rifle or a weapon of any type. My dad was not a fan of it. So the first time I had actually shot a weapon was when I was 8 or 9. My grandfather took me out squirrel hunting, pointed at a nest, gave me the gun, and said, shoot there. Next thing I know was him laughing, picking me off the ground, and saying, you'll get it next time. So then we had those 2 weeks of training, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction, how to shoot and how to qualify. The last 4 weeks is land nav, or the last week is land nav at Camp Pendleton. Right next to that same highway you can look at, and if you want to jump, you can jump right on it and take off. And then we did, to end it at Camp Pendleton, we did a 12-mile ruck march in like 4 hours, which was like an initiation for that part of that phase. The last 4 phases of boot camp is them polishing you up to become the Marine that you're going to be. Let's see. Sorry. After boot camp, I went to a specialty school, which is the machine gunner, 0331. Got to shoot some more pretty cool weapons, 50 cal machine gun, Mark 19 grenade launcher, and then what I would carry for the next couple of years is the M60 machine gun. They don't have it anymore. They got rid of it like probably 20 years ago. But it was a pretty cool weapon. They used to call it the pig because you could do anything to it and shoot no matter what. So it was a good time. As I graduated boot camp, I spent the next 5 years of my life on Camp Pendleton. I got deployed in '94 on the USS Essex, which is a really big boat. It carries about 1,700 sailors and about 170 Marines. And during that time on that boat, or that ship, the Marines didn't really have a lot to do. We would work out, run, lift, watch TV, play cards, and then when we'd get to a port like Hong Kong or Singapore or something like that, that's when we would do our training. But as soon as we got back on that boat, we didn't really do anything. Slept a lot. And the sleeping quarters, if you can imagine, they were like 70 inches long, 30 inches wide, and 17 inches tall. So it's like living in a really long suitcase is where you slept. After that, I got out in 1998, and I joined the National Guard. Did the National Guard the normal, what everybody thinks is normal National Guard, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year, until 2000 when I went to Saudi Arabia. And we sat on a Patriot missile base prior to that, and then during that time for those 8 months. It was a decent deployment. Saudi Arabia is not a bad country. It just, sitting in towers is not fun. And then 9/11 happened. And I know you guys understand what 9/11 is, but to those that serve, it meant a whole new change to how we operated and how we were going about doing things. From a 1 week in a month to 2 weeks out of the year, it ended up being like 3 or 4 days during our training time instead of 2, and 3 to 4 weeks of training during the summer. In 2004, I got deployed to Afghanistan for a year, which was an eye-opening experience. They talk about third world country. The people over there have no idea what electricity is. They go to the well to get water. Their food is what they can barely grow. It was a huge eye-opening experience. I did have some interesting experiences while I was over there. They had their first election for the president. Karzai was their president at the time, and he was coming to the city that we lived in. And we were out supposed to help patrol and make sure there was nothing going on, and anyway, we were just supposed to patrol the city and make sure that there wasn't anything going on that would harm the president. Well, we got out into the streets, and if you can imagine your hallways being packed with people like shoulder to shoulder trying to go one way, and you're trying to go the other way, that's how the streets were as we're trying to walk through. And it was very interesting for like 3 of us try to walk through there. Made you kind of nervous, but it was something we did, and it was an interesting event. We got back in 2005. And since then, I've been going from, so I was stationed in Waterloo. We went to Des Moines and then over to Texas for our training, and then Afghanistan, came back. My training when I got back, I was stationed in Waterloo for about 5 years, doing the same training, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year. There was a huge Iraq deployment during that time that I didn't get to go on. And then there was another Afghanistan deployment in 2010 to 11 that I missed out on. But during that time, I was going from school to school and from place to place, getting promoted and learning how to lead and take charge of soldiers. Right now, I'm stationed in Des Moines with Bravo Company 1st and 168 that is slated to go to Afghanistan again in 2021, which is closer than you think. People ask me what my experiences and what I think about being in the service. Some of my closest friends and my buddies are the friendships that I got from people I've been in the military with. They might not live next door, but I know if I need to call on them, they'll come running. They talk about being a band of brothers, and that's what the military is. I can see these guys out here, and I'm honored to say that I'm one of them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for those words, Adam. It means a lot, and we'll definitely be thinking as 2021 will approach. We just thank you for serving that many years and continue to have a passion for what you do. This time we'll have a video that our National Honor Society has put together.
Veterans Day, a day we stop and thank the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for our country.
We thank veterans because without their courage, we wouldn't have the same freedoms as we do today.
You put your life on the line so we could feel safe,
protected, and comfortable in the safety of our own homes.
Veterans Day means to me, it's a chance to honor the previous and future people that have decided to make a conscious choice to defend this country and everything that it stands for.
We thank you for giving it your all.
Even when you had nothing left to give.
We thank you for being a living symbol of what our nation stands for in times of trouble.
And we thank you for sacrificing precious time with your families so that we wouldn't have to.
Well, every day we should be thankful for those who have served our country, but Veterans Day is a day that we can make sure that we take the time to appreciate the sacrifices that those have made who serve for our country. So thank you.
So if you're walking down the street and you pass a veteran,
stop and say thank you, because they do so much more than we know.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you to our veterans.
I will be reading a poem entitled Thank You by Colleen Davenon. It's in the back of the program if you'd like to follow along. They walk the line so that we can be free. Some stay on U.S. soil and some go overseas, all to defend our freedom and everything that freedom means. They do it without hesitation and while giving up their dreams. When their time has come, they leave to go far away. They do it all to keep the monsters at bay. They give up their time, they give up their lives, they give up their families and say goodbye to their wives. We see them every day and walk on by, many without a hi. Many protest against what they do and all they fight for. Many hold up signs as the soldiers fall to the floor. You have the right to demonstrate because of all that they give. Due to all they give up, you have the right to live. The next time you walk by a soldier and don't even give it a thought, think of all that they did and all the battles that they have fought. Please make sure to say thank you and make sure you are sincere, because they don't give it a second thought and they do it all without fear. If you'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now do the roll call of veterans.
Roger Timmer, Air Force.
Adam Holm, Army.
Alan Meyer, Army.
Art Jaspers, Army.
Clarence Carsons, Army.
David Mulder, Army.
Denton Eulenhop, Army.
Dwayne Johnson, Army.
Gerald Eachin, Army.
Joe Walbom, Army.
Kelly Eachin, Army.
Lee Niemeyer, Army.
Paul Hahn, Army.
Paul Weber, Army.
Robert Smines, Army.
Virgil Lindemann, Army.
Wayne Ahrens, Army.
Marvin Fertig, Marines.
Roland DeGroat, National Guard.
Dwayne Hush, Navy.
Galen Freund, Navy.
Joel Buss, Navy. Thank you.
The band will now play the Armed Forces Salute. If you know someone or have a family member that has served or is currently serving, please stand during the song that represents that branch of service.
As we conclude our program this morning, just some special thank yous. First, Sergeant First Class Adam Holm for sharing your thoughts and just being here with us today. Also, band and choir, once again, great job. We appreciate you doing that. To our veterans and family for coming out to be a part and so we could honor you today, and then to our students just for being a great, respectful audience. Students, at this time, you will be dismissed a second hour. As you go, please take a minute or two and thank those folks who are here, our veterans, just for taking time out of their day and let them know what they mean to us. So students, at this time, you'll be dismissed. We'll go to second hour. We'll split second and third hour of the time, so each class is going to be roughly probably 40 minutes, give or take. So we will ring the bell. But at this time, students dismiss, stop, say hi to someone, and then make your way to second hour. Our guests, if you just stay seated,